Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint by Sing Shong. Chapter 100 Disaster of Floods. Part 4. The ichthyosaur queen cut through the water. The grandeur of her streamlined body filled Han River. The confused incarnations immediately moved away from Han River. Yua, shit. What is this? There was a feeling of solemnity as I faced her. I was facing the ruler of a species. I once again felt how great Shin Yusung and Li Gilyung were. Come down. The queen's whiskers touched the water at my words. Once again, it was unreasonable to have the same effect even with the same skill. It was similar to when I used Lycaon's Way of the Wind. I approached her and climbed up using the scales. The body of the queen shook like she was rejecting my touch. This was the limit for me. Honestly, it felt like my frontal lobe was burning from the connection with the queen. I left the incarnations hunting me behind and opened my mouth. Let's go. Then my struggle with the queen began. As if she was playing with me, the queen swam through the water regardless of my breathing. Pua! I gasped for air, looking like a wet mouse. This? The surrounding ichthyosaurs poured towards me like they were amused. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband is laughing at you. My control was a mess, but the queen was moving in the direction I wanted. It was southwest of Yongsangu. It was Nodulcium, one of the few islands in Han River. If I remembered correctly, this island was the place with the most potential for the disaster of floods to hatch. The fifth disaster hatched on an artificial island in Han River. Ways of Survival was a novel where the year wasn't specified. Therefore, I didn't know exactly what year Ways of Survival was based on. I thought it was close to the year I lived in, but it had been serialized for 10 years and the technology development wasn't right. There was little mention of modern devices in Ways of Survival, and sometimes there were no fixed geographical names used. This situation was an example. An artificial island in Han River, where the hell is it? Nonetheless, I was able to determine that it was Nodulcium due to the description and the size of the meteorite. My thoughts were interrupted by the queen's sudden stop. I rolled down and was thrown on Nodulcium. Queen Mirabad glanced at me before disappearing into Han River. She was a heartless jerk. The exclusive skill bookmark has been turned off. You weak. The world turned around as I coughed out the river water. I raised my head and the landscape of Nodulcium spread out in front of me. I had never been to Nodulcium before, but something felt strange. The trees on Nodulcium looked like they were before the world was ruined. The ichthyosaurs disappeared and the incarnations were preparing to cross the river. I could see some of the incarnations flying through the sky. I hid behind a tree and held my breath as I watched them. Where is he? Didn't he obviously come here? I didn't think there would be so many people who had learnt flight maneuvers. These jerks weren't regressors. Why did they adapt so fast? Many of them landed on Nodulcium and looked around. Hyung, let's look around. I don't have any confidence facing him alone. I agree. Did you see all the stars above his head? He is a monster. Hero-like traits aren't necessary when dealing with a monster. Will he be as strong as the king in the west? It was a conversation discussing how to kill someone. I thought it was too shameful to compare me to Yu Jonghyuk. I wanted to hide until the end of the time limit, but someone showed up from the forest on the island. A Jessie should be careful. Get off this island if you know what is good for you. It was a strong voice. The girl dressed in a black hoodie over her uniform walked towards the men. Who are you? A young person who is unafraid, my armum. Yua. Her sword moved through the air and the men who had their arms cut off screamed. One of the relatively younger incarnations shouted. It is her, the Duke of Loyalty and Warfare. What? Why is that girl here? Run. Run away. The incarnations hurriedly used flight maneuvers, but their talent wasn't as high as I thought. A few of them were slightly strong. However, the Duke of Loyalty and Warfare wouldn't make anyone his incarnation, even if they were a descendant of his friend. The girl pointed her sharp blade at me. Juicy, are you going to come out? Why are you hiding when you have the target mark on you? That reminded me, I still had the arrow above my head. I sighed and left the forest with both hands raised. Are you going to kill me? I'd like to, but Master will be sad. The long-haired girl, Li Jihai, put away her sword with a laugh. Her strength had increased in the 10 days we hadn't met. Li Jihai saw my injured arm and said to me, "How have you been? I don't think you have been well." Then why ask? I thought you had returned to Daepong High School. Why are you here? Master picked me up a few days ago. I don't know how he found me. Yu Zhonghyuk? I knew that Li Jihai was a key member of Yu Zhonghyuk's party, but to go there and find her. I looked at her physical body stats using calm observation. The total value was roughly over 160. Her strength and physique seemed slightly lower, but she had reached the limit on her stats for the 5th scenario. Moreover, Demon Slayer and sword training had improved further. It seemed that all characters in Ways of Survival grew faster when they weren't around me. Did they all have a mental block because of me? What about a Juicy's party? Have you met Hiwan Uni? The others are waiting in Yongsangu. I haven't met Hiwan SSI yet. Too bad. She wanted to see you. Come to think of it, Young Hiwan and Li Jihai were in similar positions. I looked around carefully and asked, "Did you come with Yu Zhonghyuk?" Huh? Why does a Juicy know everything? At this moment, I heard a sound from the edge of Nodulcium. Incarnations who had been fighting the ichthyosaurs finished and approached the island. Some came on duck boats and some swam. Some of them came on boats or used special skills. They looked like group tourists. I found him. There he is. I was the tour product. Li Jihai became angry when she saw the incarnations. Why did you drag that bunch of trash here? I brought them to catch the disaster. Some people were preparing themselves for the disaster, but not everyone. Those who didn't belong to any groups were hiding all over Seoul, waiting for someone to clear the main scenario. Then they would take action in the resulting power loss. The last disaster couldn't be broken by such a flimsy determination. If everyone didn't fight together. Why did you do that? There is no point. Huh? There won't be a disaster. Master is taking care of it. My eyes stared at Li Jihai with disbelief. The last disaster won't be dangerous at all. Instead, useless people can't enter the island. Shit, they are entering. Li Jihai once again pulled out her sword. This was the reason why she controlled the island. Li Jihai wasn't the only one controlling entrance to the island. A large person waved towards an incoming ship. Everyone, you aren't allowed inside here. This is a danger zone. What? Who are you? A lieutenant of the 6502 unit. What nonsense is this? A flying blade was caught in the man's hands, and he stated, "It is dangerous to resist the authorities." Why you? The lieutenant wore a suit reminiscent of a giant bear and had a dirty beard. I will take you to a safe place. The lieutenant lifted the man with one hand and threw him to the other side of Han River. The man flew across Han River at a great speed and landed on the other side. The lieutenant asked, "Is there anyone who needs guidance?" Crazy. A monster. The lieutenant facing the incarnations had tired eyes, like a mountain had piled up on his shoulders. It was a face that looked terribly weary. It is hard. I think I will die. Doc SSI, where are you? Li Hyansung SSI. At that moment, Li Hyansung looked at me. His expression was like he found an oasis in the middle of a desert. Dokja. Dokja SSI? Li Hyansung came towards me. I instinctively took a step back. D Dokja SSI. It's me. Li Hyansung. I was about to open my mouth when another group of incarnations disembarked. There he is. Catch him. Lee Hyunsung's expression distorted. I told you it is a danger zone. He turned around and slammed his fist into the ground. The character Lee Hyunsung has used the stigma Great Mountain Smash LV5. The entire island of Nodulcium shook as the edges exploded. I was captivated by the second scene of incarnations flying. That Yu Jonghyuk bastard, how did he raise a person? I asked the delighted-looking Lee Hyunsung, where is Yu Jonghyuk? Lee Hyunsung's expression became slightly sad. Oh, he is in the middle of the island. That. I will be right back. Then we will talk. I ignored Lee Hyunsung's desperate gaze and ran to the center of the island. There were many things I wanted to ask Lee Hyunsung, but now wasn't the time. I had to check something quickly. How long did I walk through the forest? I finally saw a huge meteorite stuck in the center of the forest. The size of the meteorite was overwhelming compared to the other ones. The red aura on the surface implied a sure destruction. There was a woman standing in front of the meteorite. Oh, you are. My expression changed at the sight of Lee Sealwa when the person I was looking for emerged from the rear of the meteorite. Yu Jonghyuk. Yu Jonghyuk stood there calmly, exuding a steady presence. I asked him, what are you doing right now? You must know because you have future sight. I was speechless at the calm answer. The yellow meteorite stuck in the middle of the huge disaster meteorite. I immediately noticed why Yu Jonghyuk wanted to come here quickly. Are you feeding the guide meteorite to the disaster? The guides will only interfere later. It is better to kill them while we can handle them. Once again, my ominous feelings were always right. This bastard was trying to hatch the disaster early. He was Lee Sealwa's lover for a reason. No, why? Putting aside the guide, why are you trying to wake up the disaster early? Have you finally gone crazy? There was slight disappointment in Yu Jonghyuk's eyes as he replied, you don't seem to know a lot this time. What? This disaster was my colleague in a past life. Who didn't know this? Yu Jonghyuk declared with an arrogant expression, that's why this disaster is safe. Safe? Several thoughts passed through my head. Jonghyuk. Yes. Sometimes he was too naive. The disaster of floods has hatched. I had forgotten for a while, because I received his help several times. This guy in front of me was someone who barely took a step towards the end after dying over 100 times. Chapter 101. Disaster of Floods. Part 5. The situation became clear. This Yu Jonghyuk believed in something he shouldn't have. I shouted towards Lee Sealwa, Lee Sealwa. Take the kids and escape from this island right now. The disaster of floods is different from the past. We must fight her together. If we don't all fight. Kim Dokja, don't disturb me if you don't want to die. Yu Jonghyuk came up behind me and grabbed me by the neck. All of a sudden, my body lost strength and my knees fell to the ground. I bit my lip and exclaimed, Yu Jonghyuk, listen to me. The Shin Yu-sung waking up now isn't the Shin Yu-sung you know. Once you meet her. I wanted to say more, but my voice suddenly changed into a squeaky sound. Damn it. I hit a pressure point to gradually relieve the energy that Yu Jonghyuk had released into my blood. Now I had to subdue him. Of course, no one in Seoul could subdue Yu Jonghyuk. No, there was only one. That person was coming right now. The disaster of floods is waking up. Along with the message, a green light emerged from the meteorite. Finally, the hatching of the meteorite began. I heard the voice of the intermediate Dakibi. The incarnations of Seoul are really hot-tempered. Other areas aren't so eager to wake up the disaster and are struggling to avoid the disaster. It was difficult for Baihyung to stall any longer. Do you miss your first companions? Now, prepare to face the disaster. Your companions are waiting for you in the other world. A new main scenario has arrived. Plus. Main scenario number 5, Disaster of Floods, category, Main. Difficulty, SS. Clear conditions, kill the disaster of floods, Shin Yu-sung. Time limit. Compensation, 100,000 coins? Failure, the fall of Seoul. Plus. The large meteorite split apart and revealed the interior that was reminiscent of a womb. A completely nude woman was trapped inside like a fossil. It was a mysterious woman with pure white skin. Her beautiful hair was tied up in a ponytail and wrapped around her body. This was the appearance of the adult Shin Yu-sung. A girl? What is this? That is a disaster? Lee Jae-hai and Lee Hyun-sung stopped while some incarnations secretly looked at her. They seemed to feel the severe gap in power. The exclusive skill fourth wall has offset your mental shock. The disaster of floods was different from other disasters. Unlike other disasters who were weakened by the early hatching, the disaster of floods had no such thing. The disaster of floods was stronger the earlier she woke up. The moment that Shin Yu-sung opened her eyes, white fur grew all over her body. The white fur was reminiscent of an animal's pelt and covered her body in the form of clothing. Shin Yu-sung slowly emerged from the meteorite and stepped on the ground. She was like a child taking her first step. She had just taken a step when everyone around her was frozen. She was a species with a different strength. Even the strong ones among the incarnations found it hard to move. However, there was a person who wasn't troubled by her pressure at all. I have been waiting, Shin Yu-sung. Shin Yu-sung slowly turned towards the man. Captain? It was a short encounter, but Shin Yu-sung instantly realized something. Captain was waiting for me. This isn't the first time you have seen me? Right? Yu Jong-hyuk nodded. I need your help. Before that, what regression are you on now? Why are you wondering? I need to know. Yu Jong-hyuk hesitated for a moment before replying. The third time. Ah, I see. Then you met me in the second regression. Right? Yes. She was the reason why Yu Jong-hyuk could reach the 46th scenario in the second regression. It was thanks to the disaster of floods in front of us. The disaster of floods was Shin Yu-sung from the 41st world line. She came to the past because of the Yu Jong-hyuk of the 41st regression. Shin Yu-sung was abandoned by his world, traveled for many years, and eventually descended into a scenario of the past Earth. This is the third regression. I gave you information last time, but you still failed? That's why I need more information. The second regression, Shin Yu-sung chose Yu Jong-hyuk and gave him all the information she knew. It was a final consideration for the Yu Jong-hyuk that she knew. It was only for the second regression. Shin Yu-sung opened her mouth. It took thousands of years. I could feel countless years of fatigue piled up in Shin Yu-sung's expression. The things done by the 41st round Yu Jong-hyuk were worse than murder. Thousands of years. This period of time was enough to make a person collapse and for their ego to wear down. Shin Yu-sung endured all that time and finally became a disaster. Captain, do you know how hard it was for me? I endured all these years to comply with your request. What do you mean? I wanted to see Captain. Yu Jong-hyuk didn't see the despair in Shin Yu-sung's smile. He opened his mouth in a nonchalant manner. Give me all the information from the 41st regression. Did the future me say anything? I wanted to shout at him, but my voice wouldn't come out. Shin Yu-sung's eyes were as calm as the eye of a storm. Only I could read the turbulent emotions hidden deeply in her eyes. Nothing has changed. Thanks to Yu Jong-hyuk, Shin Yu-sung moved alone in the labyrinth of worlds for over 1,000 years. She worked 200 years for the sake of humanity. She kept her promise to defend the world for 200 years. Then for another 200 years, she remembered Yu Jong-hyuk and her companions. Throughout the years, Shin Yu-sung used the handful of memories to protect herself. However, questions rose the more she remembered. What does all of this mean? Time erased her cause and sense of justice. Once the cause disappeared, only the poor human truth remained. She felt resentment towards Yu Jong-hyuk, who turned her and her companions into a tool of regression. Loneliness and despair of losing the world permeated her bones. Shin Yu-sung hated Yu Jong-hyuk, who made her into this. Captain has never changed. Don't say unnecessary things and turn over the information. I don't have time. What are we to Captain? What? I did everything for you. I gave you one chance. However, Captain is still here. She graciously helped Yu Jong-hyuk in the second regression. You will keep going forward. You will turn people like me into tools and abandon me in the terrible labyrinth of worlds. It is all because of that goddamn sense of justice. I hate you for living in this world alone. Now Shin Yu-sung was facing the Yu Jong-hyuk of the third regression. There is only one thing I'm going to tell you. Captain can't save anyone. Shin Yu-sung laughed. Your third regression ends here. Light emerged from Shin Yu-sung's hands the same moment I was able to release myself using the pressure point. I ran with all my strength and was hit by the ether storm. Get out of the way, Yu Jong-hyuk. My belly was split open and my mind became blank. A massive crater formed in the center of the island. Me and Yu Jong-hyuk jumped into the air and then rolled along the ground for a while. It hurt. Shit. It really hurt. Kim Dokja? The surprised Yu Jong-hyuk looked down at my fallen self. My breathing was fast and the sky had turned yellow. It was true that I had been lucky so far. The world was originally like this. Only one thing had to go wrong for the world to be destroyed. Kim Dokja. Bastard, there was no need to make a big fuss. I smiled at Yu Jong-hyuk and told him, hey, kill me. You usually want to kill me. What do you mean? There is 1 minute left, so I'll let you kill me. Kill me. Yu Jong-hyuk looked at my belly. I wanted to touch my belly, but it felt like nothing was there. Blood constantly emerged from my mouth and I was dizzy enough to vomit. I kept struggling to breathe. The exclusive skill Fourth Wall has offset some of the pain. If it wasn't for Fourth Wall, then I might be weeping. I couldn't feel it last time because I died in one blow. Wait, Kim Dokja. It isn't too late. It is too late. It isn't. If you kill me now, then you can gain coins. I'm already dying. Just kill me. Yu Jong-hyuk made an expression that I hadn't seen for a long time. It was the expression he made when he first saw me on the subway. I can't do it. My vision blurred. I could see Yu Jong-hyuk trying to stop the bleeding, but I had already lost too much blood. More than anything, my internal organs were gone. There was no way I could live. It was unreasonable even for Lee Seolwa. My consciousness slowly scattered into the air like a collapsing sandcastle. You have died. A moment later, a system message was heard. Current karma points, 100 out of 100. You have enough karma points to use the privilege. The privilege of the King of No Killing is activated. As expected, I opened my eyes in the darkness. It was this state again. It was a truly dirty feeling. Due to a collision error with your exclusive skill, the privilege of King of No Killing would be delayed. Thanks to your death, your consciousness has been completely liberated from the constraints of your body. Exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 3 has been activated. I heard familiar messages in the darkness. The next moment, a screen appeared in front of me. It was the third-person observation. Flood. It was like the intermediate Dakibi said. The disaster of floods was more than the other disasters combined. Shin Yu-sung gave an order and the air distorted, making monsters pop out. Monster Gate, the main feature of the legend grade attribute Beast Lord. The numerous monsters domesticated by her as she traveled the dimensions were being released as nightmares on Earth. Tear, break, destroy. Many 7th grade and 6th grade species could be seen. There were even some comparable to the 5th grade fire dragon. It is time for the disaster. Nodosium exploded and waves covered Han River. The confused incarnations became the food of monsters. The late arriving kings started giving orders. Then I saw a person with a fearsome aura behind Shin Yu-sung. I'm going to kill you, Shin Yu-sung. This crazy bastard? Yu Jong-hyuk's ether blade moved through the air with a terrible sound. Shin Yu-sung avoided the attack and smiled lightly. Your level of breaking the sky sword is quite high already? However, you can't beat me no matter how you try. At most, it is this level? You must turn in this round. We'll see. I won't die now. It might be possible if it was 10 years later. I will kill you. Captain, aren't you too agitated? What is the reason? I quietly prepared first-person protagonist's point of view. In the current situation, it was best to transfer to Yu Jong-hyuk's body. I didn't feel good, but it would be a bit easier to deal with the disaster if I transferred to this guy. Something is strange. Are you really Captain? Then Shin Yu-sung's eyes shifted to my dead body. Who is that person? I haven't never seen such a person before. Yu Jong-hyuk stayed silent. He just swung his sword. This was his only answer. How long did he swing his sword? Yu Jong-hyuk slowly opened his mouth. That guy. Shin Yu-sung's face gradually filled with doubt and disbelief. The silent Yu Jong-hyuk finally spoke. He is my companion.